through life phases. I was divorced and then met my girlfriend here, Jen, who's beside me, who also has 2 children. And so the plan is for us to blend our families. Jen, as I said, has 2 children, so there'll be a total of 7 us living in the home, and thus the plan and the request to expand the home to accommodate the larger family. Both, when I met Jen also fell in love with the area of Marshfield Hills and where we live on Old Main Street. We decided that we wanted to make this where we made the home for our blended family. And so obviously the way to do that is to make it larger and accommodate that many more people. So this is our plan. I have invited Chris D'Orsay from Campbell Smith, our architect, as well as my neighbor here to also explain the thing. So basically you can see the existing home. The plan is to do basically a 2-car / 3-car garage with a master bedroom and master bath above, along with an extra bedroom and a washroom.
Can I stop you for a second there? Let's just, so we're here on the site plan. So before we get into the architectural renderings and invite Chris into the conversation here, you're proposing to take the existing barn and relocate it. That's how I understood it. Okay.
Right. So I think probably what's obvious is, and I neglected to say though, is that it's non-conforming as is, and so what we'd be doing is maintaining the existing non-conforming setback, minus 2 inches or 4 inches there. And so maintaining the existing setback of no more than the 13.8 feet, and extending it out. The reason that we need to move the barn is to accommodate the addition, where the addition comes out and where it actually would come to where the current barn is situated today. In addition to create a turning radius that would accommodate cars coming out of the garage.
Right. Okay.
So if I could just introduce myself. Hi, I'm Chris D'Orsay, Campbell Smith Architects. And
hi, Chris. Would you say your last name again so I have it for the record? Christopher
D'Orsay. I live at 142 Old Main Street, just across the street from the subject property we're talking about.
All right, very good.
So Stenbeck and Taylor could not be here tonight, and I can help interpret some of this if it's helpful. I think the real crux of this question are the 2 numbers on the top of the screen there. 13.8 is the current distance from the existing house to the property line, and the new addition will be 14 feet.
Okay. Yes, so you're not becoming any more non-conforming.
Correct.
And your driveway is currently, it currently goes down the back and ends at the barn, correct?
Correct.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'd be happy to go over the architecturals or to explain some of it, but if you think it's clear enough.
I just want to make sure that we're working through. So the proposed barn location, number 1, the vegetated wetlands in that area, and the board cannot waive that bylaw. So that's something for further discussion, and whether or not you're in that wetland pocket. Do you want to revisit that later, or is that something that you're prepared to discuss?
So are you saying that there's wetlands?
We don't know. It's not provided in this site plan.
Okay. Well, I wasn't aware that if there are wetlands within the property. If that's something that I need to have determined, then I can do that.
Okay.
There was no intention to put the barn in a wetland area, so we will confirm that it's not, and if it is, we will deal with it. Yeah.
So as far as the board is concerned, we can't endorse the location of that proposed barn until we have more information. That's fine. All I'm getting at.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Lynn, do we have information that says this is a wetland?
We don't, but we don't have any information that says it is not.
Right, so that would be, we can endorse it based on the fact that, just like we do any other plan, and then if they have to go to conservation, it would have to come back to us if it was in the wetland.
So in addition to that, Brian's absolutely correct. In addition to that, there is the historical demolition of that barn that you would need to attend to as well.
Oh, the barn is not old.
They're not demolishing it, they're relocating it.
Yeah, we would actually.
I'm sorry, not I'm reading my notes and running. So, has this building come in front of the historical commission for its restoration?
No, I mean, it was.
We're not doing any demolition. We're adding on to the back.
I understand that. It's in a historical zone?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that it's a newer construction, but what you're saying is that because it's in a historical zone, a relocation of it needs to be reviewed by the historical.
I don't have the answer to that.
Don't we just approve our end of this?
Could that be the same as the conservation, Lynn, where we would need to go to just historical for confirmation?
I'd like to have town council weigh in on that, and he's unavailable for a little bit. So
from my understanding, historic district or historic commission would review a project for demolition delay. And as we're not demolishing any portion of the existing structure, it's my understanding that they would not have jurisdiction over the new addition at this location.
So I understand they must comply with demolition delay bylaw, which is chapter 118 of the Marshfield Town Code, if any partial demolition of any structure older than 50 years, or if within 200 feet of the boundary line of a historical district.
So Lynn, they're not proposing any demolition to the old structure other than adding they're adding on to the addition, so they'll have to cut through. But as far as any demolition to the actual existing structure, they're not doing that. And I know from my discussions with Cindy Castro that they don't, the historical commission does not require does not require them to have a hearing for that.
Okay. I was just reviewing Bob's notes, so. All right, so we're looking at the floor plan. Thank you.
I can take you through the architectural set briefly if you'd like. If that's
okay, that would be great. Thank you. Sure.
So we're looking at the. I don't know if it's easier for me to share the screen. I have the same presentation. If I could share the screen, is that easier, or we'll just leave it the way it is?
I'd rather not, Chris, if you don't mind. Yep.
So we're looking at the first floor plan right here. The street side is on the right-hand side of the page. The addition is on the left-hand half. You can see the dark dashed line where the new work is to be taking place. There's a mudroom addition that connects the new garage and the existing house. And you can see the outline of where the barn will be moved from, where it currently exists. There's a small rectangle there. That's the current barn location, which will be relocated into the backyard. And then we can see, if you maybe zoom in to the stairway in the new structure, you can see that the new wall is going to be pushed in 2 feet from the existing corner of the house. And then we're bumping back out 1 foot, 4.5 for the garage. So that's how we're getting less non-conforming than the existing structure. And if we go to the next page, is the second floor. Second floor has the same footprint as the first floor, so no protrusions beyond that. Pretty straightforward. And then next page is the basement floor plan. There'll be a finished basement and same footprint with that 2 foot jog in from the existing corner and then back out 1 foot, 4.5. And the next elevation is the driveway side. So this is looking south. So the front of the house, the street side of the house is on the right-hand side of the page, the addition on the left. You can see it's a 3-bay garage and then a master bedroom above. Next page is the opposite elevation on the north side. And it's a sloping site. As you can see, it'll be stepping down. And the next is the rear elevation from the back of the house. And the next page is the front elevation of the street side. And you can see the addition is not visible from the street. It's narrower than the existing house, so in elevation it does not show from the street. There's some views. And the lower left view here is called rear view V2, is the side that we'll be asking for relief from. That's the 14-foot and 13.8-foot setback from the property line. And I think is there a last page with a little site? So there's a simplified site plan with that red line showing the existing setback of the existing house and our addition shaded there.
All right. Any questions from the board? There's neighbors on the right and on the left of this property as well for.
Oh, I think page 2 has some photographs.
Yep. Thank you.
So there in the top, you can see the red pin on Google Earth, the location. It's right where Old Main Street peels off from Prospect Street near the general store and the post office. The 3 photographs on the bottom, taken only a month ago when it snowed. You can see the subject house is in the middle. The middle photograph shows both abutters, left and right, and then the house, or the photograph on the left shows the abutter to the south. The photograph on the right shows the abutter to the north.
Andrew, can you just expand in on that so we can see the abutter to the south with the barn in the back so the board can, at the bottom. Thank you. See the barn in the back, that's where, yep. So the driveway will continue as it has down the stone wall. The right side will remain the same. The hedges on the right will remain the same, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any questions from the board? I'm glad those days are over. I'm happy to see the weather. Get rid of that picture quick.
I tell you, that was a cold morning standing out there taking those
we
pictures.
had a few. It wasn't too bad. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Okay. So I mentioned to the applicant about the demolition delay bylaw and the, what else did I talk about? Wetland bylaw. So both of those conditions would be something that I would recommend the board consider. Is there any other questions from the board or other conditions that we'd like to bring up during this process of construction? You'll be working, it's tight down there, you're working on the side yard. Ryan?
I'm sorry, Lynn.
When you're doing the construction phase, will you be working off the street, or are you going to have a staging area towards the back?
Yeah, presumably it would be the back. Everything
Okay.
would be located in the back, especially once the barn is moved. It would create a lot of space there to do all the staging. Yep.
Okay, so when you move the barn, you're going to put it in the location that's to be determined?
Yes, exactly. So the barn would be moved first, and then from there, we'd then go to the phase of the actual proposed addition.
So a staging site for the barn, or actually, sometimes folks just put it in another spot and then actually put it in its final resting spot.
So I guess so you're asking, Lynn, where the staging would be for the relocation of the barn, not the addition. Yeah. I did do a walkthrough with the mover, the person who I'd used to move the barn, and he did not specify. He just simply said that it would be the setup to move it would be in the backyard. It would not require a truck or a trailer. It would be slid along a steel beams on what he called skates.
Yep.
Hopefully that helps.
Okay. Yeah, I think I've asked a lot of questions.
I think the intention with moving the barn is that the location would be selected as shown as proposed barn location here on this plan. A footing or foundation would be placed at that location, and the barn would simply be moved to that new spot and placed. It wouldn't have a staging area intermittent.
So we're not privy to know where that it's proposed. We can't actually see where it's going to go. Brian, how do we condition that?
I don't think you need to.
We just let it happen?
That can be handled under the building permit. That's an accessory structure. It's going to maintain the proper setbacks, and they should be able to have an accessory structure there. So if it's in the wetlands, or near to wetlands, I'll capture that during the building permit stage under conservation's review of the building permit. But otherwise, I don't think the ZBA has to address it at all as part of this special permit. We just need to deal with the nonconformity of the proposed addition, really.
Okay.
That's the only thing they're seeking relief from, I believe.
It'll all get picked up in the as-built one, so I wouldn't worry.
Okay. Is the board all on board with that explanation? If I don't hear anything, I'm going to go with it.
Absolutely.
Okay. All righty. Then I'd like to make a motion to close case 21-18A.
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All those in favor of closing: Lynn Fidler, aye.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Thank you. Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Chris Polisos.
Aye.
Okay, we have a vote of 5-0 to close. Do we need a deliberation?
Just one thing real quick.
Go ahead.
One thing real quick, Lynn. Didn't Andrew had addressed the historical demolition as being a non-issue? Is that correct?
I thought that would be something that was recommended by Bob to condition.
Yeah, I read that as a possibility. Yeah, I read that, but
we can just have to comply to it. If they don't have to comply, then they don't have to comply. But
if that would get up in the building permit, it will be discussed between Andrew and the board. I wouldn't worry about it.
So the house is listed on the town survey as being historical in nature, but Andrew, you're comfortable that that'll be picked up in the building permit?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
They can add delay if
there's no demolition yet.
We generally, on houses this old, this house was built in 1890. At least that's what the assessor's record says. So generally houses this old will send to this historic, commission to see if they want to have a hearing on it, or if they feel it's not necessary. If they don't feel it's necessary, then there's, then the condition is met, basically,
And you've already had a preliminary indication that they're comfortable with it?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
so you're suggesting that I have it conditioned, or just leave it alone?
I think if you condition it, it's fine, because as part of the building permit review, we're going to ask Historic Commission if
you do it anyway. It's an exercise in what we do.
Yeah, Lynn, that and conservation get picked up in the permit anyway, so I don't believe we have to condition it. You can if we want.
All right, I think we should probably condition it if that's all right with everybody else. It's my recommendation, where Bob suggested it as well. So, and then it'll be taken care of. Any other questions, comments?
Could I ask one question?
Sure.
Who is Bob?
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob Galvin's town council.
Thank you.
This hearing is closed, so that was a privy, yeah. And it's Bob Galvin.
I know him.
For your record, yeah. All righty, so I think we're all set with deliberation. And I will go and move towards a vote. So we will condition to comply with the wetland bylaw and demolition of historically significant structures bylaw as 2 conditions, along with the other local laws and regulations that Nancy typically puts in. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit in accordance with 10.12 of the Marshall Municipal Code for 179 Old Main Street, with the items 1 through 10 being fulfilled as identified in our bylaws. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian. All those in favor, Lynn Fidler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Felisos?
Aye.
And Steve Feeney?
Aye.
So we have a vote of 5-0 to approve. All right, you're all set, folks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Brian,
Thank you.
once you guys get going with the building permit, just give me a call and I'll help you navigate through those other boards and everything else, okay?
Okay,
Appreciate it.
great.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good
Andrew.
luck, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we have Nicholas Lang with us this evening for 32 Hanley Court.
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'm going to read this into the record and then we'll get going. 21-21 Nicholas Lang, the petitioner is seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-1109 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to reestablish an existing accessory apartment on the property located at 32 Hanley Court, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K10-19-19 and is located in an R3 zoning district. And the applicant is with us this evening.
Yes, I am.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
You'll see in front of us your application for your special permit. So this was in front of us at a previous date. There's no change in the plan, although I understand that the plan is a mortgage plot plan when we get to it. Okay. Nicholas, have there been any changes in this property since the previous?
No, none.
None. All the egresses remain the same, parking remains the same?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have the deed?
No, we had the purchase and sale.
Purchase and sale, holder of, oh, yep, we're not.
It's in your packet. It's not,
Oh, that's right. I went out there today and it had the sold sign on it. Okay. Okay. That's fine. Do we have the site plan? Thank you again. Thank you. So we don't have the setbacks on this mortgage plan, which, as the board knows, we have been trying to be better prepared, have our applicants be better prepared. And in this current state for the ZBA, this would not really fly. So how does the board feel about permitting this plan?
And in my opinion, this is just a continuation of an existing use. It's wholly within the existing footprint.
Yeah.
Not going outside the footprint. It's a pre-approved item. I don't know why we would need that in this application.
Okay.
I would agree.
Does the rest of the board feel the same way?
Agreed.
I do, Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chairwoman, I do agree with Brian's assessment of this one, but I think going forward, I think it behooves all of us to make sure that we do have that certified plot plan, because that plot plan doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
So I think going forward, not to be difficult, but to make sure that, you know, something doesn't come back on us as a board or individually because, you know, we didn't follow our bylaws, which say you need a certified plot plan or a, you know,
Right.
Excuse me. So that's all. But I do agree with Brian.
Steve, it's just that I think that something that's pre-existing like this is, where they're not going with outside of the footprint, it's already been pre-approved. I think we have to each individual application and take it on its merits.
No, I agree with you 100%, Brian. I was agreeing with you.
Yep.
But once.
Hey, you agree with them a lot. We all do. Okay, so Nicholas.
Yes.
This application, there is some criteria that needs to be assured that you still meet. So only one accessory apartment shall be allowed per single family dwelling. Correct me if I'm wrong. The accessory apartment shall occupy no more than 40% of the total living area. The accessory apartment shall be designed so that the appearance of the building remains that of one family residence. Reasonable deviation condition, blah, blah, blah. Compliance with the Board of Health policies and regulations. Approved water conservation devices shall be required for the new installation. This would include low flow, shower heads, etc. The dwelling must be in existence and not substantially altered for a period of 3 years prior. Require minimum lot size. All of these things were part of the original application for an accessory apartment. But because this is actually, we need to treat this as a brand new hearing. So that's why I'm asking you these. Lot size, we must be in compliance, correct, Andrew? R3, 10,000 square feet. Sufficient parking space. Principal dwelling shall be occupied by the applicant owner as his or her principal residence. Is that correct? Nicholas?
Yes.
This is correct. So you are intend to be this to be your principal residence?
Yes, it will be, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Lynn?
Yes?
I included our most recent accessory apartment just in case there were additional conditions that weren't in effect in 2018.
Oh, you have a decision in there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a peek. Is that the one I just went through fast?
No, there's another one too.
Oh, okay. So this is Hamley's. Do you recall which decision it was?
Yeah, it was 80 Peterson Path. It was done on March 9th.
Thank you. Here's,
There you go. Andrew has it.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
You got it. That's why I'm the host, right?
Host with the most.
Exactly.
Compliance with requirements, Marshall Fire Department, such shall be design, appearance of the building. We already went over the Board of Health, we did that. Principal dwelling, yes. Sufficient parking. Where is the parking, Nicholas? Where is the parking on that property?
It's just in front of the garage and you can actually in the garage too.
So you have a two-car garage under?
Yes.
Can't remember. Yeah, okay. Yep. Alrighty. Okay. I'm good. Yeah, so this is, Nicholas, this is the procedures. So you'll receive a notice from the building commissioners or the building department to reissue this every year.
Yep, I understand that. I talked that over with my real estate agent.
Okay, so if you have any questions, reach out to Andrew and he can clarify that for you.
Okay.
Permit to come effect copy of decision variance. Okay. All right. Thank you, Nancy, for providing that. Any further questions from the board? Now, in light of what we just heard, are there any further questions from the public? All righty. I'd like to make a motion to close case 21-21. Do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of closing, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Blusos?
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Using the conditions as we just identified on the board, the more recent ones for Peterson Path as our conditions for this hearing, I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit. Do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Blusos?
Aye.
And we have a vote of 5-0 to approve. Okay. So Nicholas, you're all set. Good luck and welcome to Marshfield.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
it. Okay, 21-22, do we have the applicant?
Yes, Dick Rockwood.
Hi, Dick. How are you?
Good. How are you tonight?
Good. I'm going to just read this into the record. 21-22, Charles and Carol Abel. The petitioners are seeking a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 of the Marshfield Municipal Code to construct an 11-foot 10-inch by 9-foot 10-inch first floor addition, a 32.5-foot by 20.2-foot second story addition over the existing accessory building and a 10 by 4-foot deck on the property located at 20 Raleigh Road, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel K11-30-07 and is located in an R3 zoning district. So we have your application. Is Mark Stiles with us?
I am.
Hi, Mark.
How are you?
Okay. That was my roll call vote for you.
I'm here in the home office.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. Deed. So I went out here this afternoon and took a peek at this property. And there is the barn in the back. Is that a living space?
It's heated and has a bathroom in it. It's been
Okay,
there quite a number of years, yes.
okay, thank you. So Dick, why don't you explain what you have going on?
You can see the existing barn that has been rehabilitated. We have permits that we have pulled from the building department of when it was done. It has a bathroom in it. What we're proposing to do is that proposed addition in the rear, probably at the bottom of the screen, the way it's held here. Yep, right there, that square. We're just squaring that off. We have to jog in a couple of inches so we do not become more non-conforming than the building is in its existence. So that's why that little 2-inch jog where the hand is. And so we're doing that on the first floor, and then we're putting a second floor, proposing to put a second floor over this existing 1-story building. So, and then a cantilevered balcony on that second floor. Right there.
Andrew, are you familiar with this property?
Yep, I've been in the area. There was a house that had work done on it just next door, I believe.
Okay. Do you have any comments on this?
Well, I don't know if you want to let Dick present first before I comment, or do you want me
Okay,
to?
that's fine. We had the architecturals in front of us, so that's why I was asking. But go ahead, Dick.
So what we're proposing to do is make an office, little pool table office space upstairs. It's always been used as a recreational building, for the summer, for the grandkids to go run around in, that type of building. It does have that existing bathroom that's you see on the first floor that's been there. And I actually, we got them from the building department, all the old drawings, and it was permitted for what you are seeing there. So I forget, 20, 25 years ago, something like that. I don't have it open. I don't have it in my file in front of me, but we do have copies of it that came from the building department. So.
I think it was either the late 90s or early 2000s.
Yes, maybe it was 18, 19 years ago, something like that. Yeah. So we, like I said, we just want to do the second floor with the balcony on it. It's just a recreational area and an office. The house, the house that's there is an old house, so there's not a lot of. There's like one living room in the house. So this is, just for overflow. We're keeping it, within the charm of the area, sort of the little farmhouse style. The main house is a full 2-story house, sort of a Dutch colonial style in the front.
So the addition will not be any more non-conforming to the back setback?
No, it will not.
And Dick, here's where I have a couple of concerns, right, is is the overall height of the structure.
Yes.
So accessory structures are 20 feet.
And the definition of height, Andrew, is the
For a
midpoint.
primary building, not for an accessory structure. The accessory structure bylaw is a little more restrictive.
What's the height on the accessory structure at the midline? Bylaw or code?
It shall not exceed 20 feet in height.
But if you go by the definition of height, it's the midpoint of the roof. And I've gone through this in the past, Andrew. Going back 10, 12 years ago. The definition of height is the same. It doesn't distinguish between an accessory dwelling, accessory building and a main house. It just has a definition of height. So I've done other buildings like this.
We worked on this and had the roof line, the shed dormers and the A dormers and the amount of dormer space on the top kind of play into it as well. So you've got almost a full dormer on the rear elevation. So you're
but I believe that building height is for the primary structure. That's for the primary structure on the lot. With the accessory structure, the bylaw says the height is not to exceed 20 feet. And to me, that means the max height. And we've been doing accessory structures that are max height 20 feet. Not just the board, but in the building department as well.
Okay.
DH Smith, for example, we had a lot of conversation about that.
Okay. I'm only going by my past projects.
Yeah.
Lynn, is the existing height already higher than 20 feet here?
No, it's only it's only one story structure. They're adding the second story. Like,
so
the current roof line right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Pardon me?
I couldn't hear you. I couldn't hear that response.
The current roof line is right along.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's kind of like a normal
garage.
They're proposing to raise it up.
So you're saying that your interpretation these days are to the ridge.
That was my interpretation. That was Jim Folkard's interpretation as well.
Okay, I probably hadn't done one of these in a few years since Jim was in there. I've done them in the past. I have them across the street from my house that use the 20 foot to the midpoint rule. I've done it on other structures, 20 feet to the midpoint, using the same definition of height.
Well, I mean,
I could lower.
Give the police department a variance on this bylaw, so for their accessory structure, the police department just had to have a variance.
Okay, well, okay. So now I would have to just lower this height then to not exceed the 20 feet, if that's the case. I just want to be consistent.
Do you
I just
want
have once in a while on an accessory structure. I mean, I have some in Marshfield that are 2.5 stories that I've done years ago. And there's a barn across the street from my own house it's got to be 20 feet to the drip edge line, you know? And it's only 15 feet, 10 feet from its property line. So, so not having dealt with this in your particular updated interpretation, which I don't debate. If you just went through this and went through it with the police department, then
there's an exception as it relates to accessory barns. They can be up to 35 feet. And that kind of lends itself to the explanation that it's 20 feet in total height, because if you set back 30 feet, I think from a property line, it's that last sentence of the.
You have to be not 10 feet from a property line. You have to be back.
30 feet, I think it is. 50 feet from a front setback and 30 feet from the other setbacks. Then you can go to 35 feet in height. And I don't think that was intended to mean to the midpoint of the roof. I think it was intended to mean total height.
Total height. Yep. Okay.
Dick, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to rehash these plans?
well, Andrew and I could work that out. We'll just go by that it cannot be more than 20 feet to the ridge. And I'll modify this.
Oh, what were your concerns about the planning board?
My concerns?
You noted that you had some questions about the planning board.
Just that I wanted the planning board to receive a copy of the site plan so that they could comment. The bylaw says that the zoning board isn't supposed to act until it's sent this to the planning board, and the planning board has allowed at least 35 days to respond or not. So appears to be getting away from that, so.
Yeah. Nancy, did that occur? I asked you about some of the other hearings for this evening, but I don't recall the response for this for Raleigh Road.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I sent it in an email, but Greg and I talk about them all the time. Of the different cases that come in. I'll make sure that he gets them, everyone will get them by email from going forward.
I don't think it has to hold this one up, but going forward, we really need to make sure that we just drop a copy of the plan with them.
So maybe we just add that to our checklist before we close a hearing. All right, Nancy?
Sure.
Okay. All righty.
Can I just say, the only other concern I have about this is this becoming a accessory dwelling? And I know that I had visits from a couple of abutters that weren't able to make it here tonight that are concerned that this is going to be an accessory dwelling. They're concerned that the resident currently lives there and maybe rents the actual structure out. And these are just things that people were coming and saying, and they're raising their concerns, but weren't able to attend the meeting tonight. And I just, I don't want to see it become an accessory structure or accessory dwelling either. And I just didn't feel like the floor plan doesn't really address that, either.
Right. Dick did respond that it's for a pool table and this and that for.
Yeah, not the intent, Andrew, and we know it's not in the bylaws.
Yeah.
So that's their intent, and that's
okay.
The argument. You can enforce it as you see fit later. Does that work, Andrew?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Andrew?
Yeah, this is Glenn Forden. I'm in the neighborhood. And
I'm sorry, would you spell your last name for us?
Fortin, F-O-R-T-I-N.
Thank you. And your address?
Is 70 Circuit Avenue.
Okay. What do you have to say?
Well, I want to give my neighbor the blessing, as long as the town approves whatever he wants to do. But a concern is the height of the structure, because it would affect, the properties around it. But also, most of the properties in this neighborhood do have outlying buildings, whether they're carriage houses or whatnot. And if one is able to enlarge them for livable spaces, that would be a concern. Yeah, it's just setting a precedent that I don't think the town would want to do.
Right. That bylaw, yeah.
If there's any, like a contingency of non-buildable space applied to a permit, that may be something to think about, but as long as it's compliant with the height and the setbacks, then there's no issue on my part.
Okay. Well, the applicant, we addressed that with the applicant and he answered it. So, Okay, we'll see how that goes. All right. Any other questions from the public or comments? Andrew, did the folks that came and visit you, is there anything for the record that I need to add in?
No, he didn't give me any documentation.
Okay. All righty. So this is an extension or alteration of a non-conforming structure. Okay. I'm just going down the requirements of the board for granting the 10.12 code, which is what we just did. All righty, I'm all set. The board all set? Okay. So this is 21-22 for 20 Raleigh Road. And the applicant has assured the board that the ridge line will be no greater than 20 feet
Yes.
as a condition. Are there any other conditions the board would like to see initiated?
Lynn, you should probably have the condition in there about accessory apartments.
To comply.
That the structure cannot be used as an accessory apartment without a further permit and approval from the Board of Appeals.
Bob, wouldn't that just be that's in the bylaw anyway, right?
Brian likes us not to have to write something into a condition if it's in a bylaw. It feels
It already exists in our rules and regulations. It's standard for anyone that builds anything in town. We don't say you're building a garage next to your house. That gets handled in the building department and it's covered in the bylaw.
It's your board. You guys get to decide those rules.
I think it's redundant.
This has come up before, so maybe we'll get into a quick deliberation after we close it and address that with all the members of the board discussing that. But I think I'm comfortable to close it and then we'll have that discussion. All righty. So I'd like to make a motion to close case 21-22 special permit in accordance with 305-10.12. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor of closing: Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Blisos.
Aye.
So we have Mark Stiles back as a full-time member with us in our deliberations this evening. So I'd like Nancy will alternate between Larry and Chris for that fifth vote, but I couldn't hear all of them in a roll call vote. Okay. So
Okay.
This one will be with Larry, and the next one will be with Chris. Alrighty. So this hearing has been closed. The deliberation as we need to have. Does the board want to comment on Brian's comment that it's redundant for us to reiterate in our decisions? I personally think that it's an exercise that gives the public a little bit more information and clarifies the bylaw for the public, but I'm certainly willing to have a discussion about it.
Well, in my opinion, we don't have to put in there, you have to have a complying septic system. You don't, conservation, all these other things are handled at the building permit level. I don't know why we need to add them into it. You know, they go around, when you pull a building permit, you're subject to these rules and regulations.
I would just say, I don't think you need to put it in that they have to comply with. I think the applicant should be obligated to comply with all of the rules, regulations, permits, and approvals, and leave it
So
alone.
our decisions do include the local law. Nancy, it says local laws and
That's
regulations.
Standard answer.
Local, state, and federal.
Local, state, and federal regulations,
That's fine.
which imposes all of that. Okay, all right. Any other discussion from the board for this hearing? Okay, we'll go to a vote. Remember that condition of the 20 feet for the ridge line. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit for case 21-22, chapter 305-10.12, with the items 1 through 10, as the board is aware of for a special permit. I don't want to have to read them all again, but the board has, I'm just going down it quickly to make sure we've done everything. Okay, so we're all set. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit. Do I have a second?
Second.
White items 1 through 10 being fulfilled and the 20-foot ridge line. Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor? Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
Chris Felisos?
Aye.
Okay, we've got our 5 votes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dick Rookwood.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a nice night. Okay, Lisa Jacobs.
Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good. I'm going to keep this going here. It's currently 7:37. I'm going to read this into the record. 21-23 in accordance with 305-10.11 of the Marshfield Municipal Code. The petitioner is seeking a variance for relief from 305-6.02 Table of Dimensional and Density Regulations and a special permit in accordance with 305-10.12 to construct a 24-foot by 6-foot pergola on the property located at 494 Ocean Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel M08-1703 and is located in R3 zoning district. So as we go through this, I want to remind the board that this is a variance. Lisa, do you want to speak and explain to us your situation as we're going through this?
Good evening. Doug Noble. I am Lisa's partner for life. And I was more involved in the process than Lisa. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to address the board.
That's perfectly fine. Welcome.
Last summer, Lisa and I needed to redo the stairs out in front of the house, and we wanted to add a small deck. And we went to the building department and asked them what we would need as far as a permit. And they basically said to us that, the key was to make sure that we held the 7.5 foot off the sidewalk. So we ended up getting the building permit to replace the stairs and construct the deck. And that was in June. And in July, we contracted with a contractor to build the stairs and the deck for us. And when he came to our house, he asked us if we had considered possibly putting an overhang over the door and a small pergola over the deck portion. And we said to him, we thought it was a great idea. I mean, the house basically sits on all the setbacks. There's, it's one of the tallest houses on all of Ocean Street. And we thought it would be a great way to scale the house down. We asked them, what will we need from the town, in order to build the overhang and the pergola. And he said when the building inspector came out, that they would talk to the building inspector. Basically, you're looking at the photo of the overhang and the pergola built, which for us, we thought came out beautiful, and our neighbors love our deck and pergola and overhang. So the next time that I knew anything was in September, when the building inspector notified me that the overhang and the pergola were not part of the building permit, and he was going to have to speak to the ZBA, to get their input as to how he was to handle it, whether he would handle it as the building inspector or whether we would have to come to the ZBA for an approval. And he got back to us in September, let us know that we in fact did have to apply to the board. But it took us till January because Lisa and I are both essential healthcare workers, and our facility got hit with a second wave of COVID, which put us down for basically all of the fall. So it wasn't until January that I reached out to Nancy to start the process, which brings us here in front of the board tonight.
Okay. I came by, I noticed there's a for sale sign on it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did this come in front of the board for just the extension? It looks familiar to me.
No.
Okay, so it just was a building permit.
It did not, Lynn. I issued the building permit for the deck remodel based on the existing deck that was there. So you can see the actual footprint of the deck didn't really change. The end of it came, I think, just about maybe a little bit further, but it's still within the setbacks. They didn't make it any more non-conforming. The stairs were basically in the same spot over here.
Yeah.
They just made the deck a little bit longer. So we got to the point of, the framing inspection. I met with Mr. Noble there. Then I met with the contractor and went over the framing inspection. And then he called for a final inspection of the handrails and everything, and I did that. I never spoke to him about adding anything. It wasn't until like a couple months later that I noticed that this had all been added. So you're technically adding volume to the structure by adding the roof and on the front, encroaching into the front setback, and the other aspect was it wasn't permitted and it wasn't inspected. So that was like kind of the issue that kind of brought it all to head. And I thought the only way to do it was to get the blessing of the ZBA through a variance.
Yeah. I mean, these situations are difficult because I hate having folks come in and ask for forgiveness after they've done something like this. But
and it's understood. I mean, obviously this is not what we do for a living.
Yeah.
And we, at the outset, I reached out to the town, because we knew what we wanted to do, and, just to make sure if we needed a permit, people say, oh, you need them, you don't need them, so I reached out to the town to make sure we were doing the right thing. Then the contractor gets involved, and we assume, obviously, oh, you're a contractor, you know what you're doing. And of course, here we are.
Okay. All right.
And I agree with Doug and Lisa that I feel that they got kind of misled by the contractor and kind of roped into this. And obviously what they did do is very aesthetically pleasing, and it does add,
it adds to the building.
It does add to the house aesthetically pleasing. into the neighborhood. But the issue was they were misled by a contractor in this case.
Okay, all right. Do we need any other information other than you're here in front of us for a variance, which is tricky business as well. So, any questions from the board?
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, we don't know a lot of the nuances of, variances and special permits. I mean, we've heard that, it can be a difficult process, but, obviously, the last thing we want to do is to have to, either take it down or have to do something like that. But, we're in this predicament, so we're trying to make it right.
Okay. I'd like to take a roll call from the board and ask the board their impression of what's going on here.
It's 10 feet off the road.
Brian Murphy.
You're on, Brian.
Oh.
She wants to know your thoughts.
Yeah, I'd like to take a roll call before we
I have no problem with this. I think, obviously a portion of it, I think it's more than 50%, but would fit under the storm protection to get 2 feet out of it. And then the remaining piece we would have to grant a variance on.
On the roof.
Yeah.
And the
I
pergola.
don't know if the pergola is open to above, so.
So pergola becomes part of the roof.
Fit under the 50% rule, just incorporating that with the 2 feet, and then whatever remains was what we would have to grant a variance for.
Well, it's non-conforming, so that the setback's 15.
Yeah.
So they're already non-conforming. They're already
So they've made this more non-conforming.
Right, but what I'm saying is that it's already been approved for the non-conforming. You're still allowed the 2 feet of protection in the bylaw.
Yep.
So whether we're granting a variance of an additional 2 feet or 4 feet, we're still going into the.
We're still granting a variance. It's just a matter of.
Granting a variance. Yeah. I'll see how else to get around it. Mark Stiles.
I would be curious to know if there's any abutters in the audience that have a comment about it.
Okay, Steve Feeney.
I guess I would echo that sentiment from Attorney Stiles, but I also, again, not just on this one, be looking for a, the site plan stamped by a surveyor, and not just the mortgage plot plan, but just to stay consistent.
Okay. Larry Keane.
Yeah, I'm looking at this as Brian pointed out, when you deduct the pergola that's open, then you deduct the 2 feet for the shelter, we're getting to a pretty low impact variance, I think. And the hardship that it would appear to me to present to the homeowner would be excessive for the mere fact that I don't think they played any part and parcel to this, as Andrew pointed out.
Chris?
I'm sort of in the same spot. As long as Andrew is comfortable with the whatever mechanical inspection he has to do with the structure that wasn't permitted.
Okay. So when we look at a variance, then we're looking at conditions and circumstances are unique to the applicant's lot, structure, or building, and do not apply to the neighboring land, structure, or buildings in the same district. So the circumstances are fairly unique to what we see. We usually don't have this type of situation occur. But let's go on to the next one. Strict application of the provisions of this bylaw would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the lot. Now, if this came in front of us prior without having this seen, I don't know if we would be in agreement that may apply in this case. The unique conditions and circumstances are not the result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the bylaw. Now we're just going back in time here, and now we don't have that as a guiding point. We need to look at where we are right now as present day, and the structure is up. The relief, if approved, will not cause substantial detriment to the public good or impair the purposes and intent of this bylaw. I think that is acceptable. Relief, if approved, will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the district. I would say that would be acceptable within limits of the board. Are there any questions from the public or comments from the public? Bob, can you weigh in on this?
This is one I can't weigh in because I know the buyers, so I
okay.
prefer to stay out of it.
All right. But I just went through the conditions. Relief from 6.02. Can you pull up 6.2 for me? Andrew?
What are you looking for?
6.02. So that has to do with the table and So the current frontage that we have what is the actual site plan? What are we looking at? Where is it right now?
What are you asking? What are you asking?
We don't. So I'd like to understand exactly what we have. So I think in this particular case, I'd like to maybe leave the record open and allow the applicant to get us a better site plan so we can understand what our vote is.
Do we have the original permit for the deck?
Don't know.
I can bring that up fairly easily.
Thank you. Oh, geez.
So this was certified by a professional land surveyor, but all the setbacks were drawn in on the mortgage plan.
Okay, so you had to test that this is accurate according to your other plan. Okay.
It says right on the plan that it's accurate as long as it's printed on legal paper.
It's
okay.
got, so
11 by 17, whatever it has the scale.
So it had the scale for the setbacks to the front lot line for the house, and they kept this distance on the stairs, the existing stairs, which I saw before they started construction, and confirmed that they didn't go any further than that. So like I mean, for what it's worth, as a building official, I can confirm that that's exactly where it is,
okay.
As far as we're concerned in the building department.
So we're 7.5 feet from the front setback.
That's correct.
Okay, so we can work with that for the variance.
Which is for a deck under 4 feet, half the distance of the setback, front setback, which is why we were able to issue the building permit without ZBA approval.
Okay, just
For the deck.
The deck only, right? Okay. So do you feel that that's enough information for us to move forward? I do.
I absolutely do.
Satisfied.
Okay. All right, let's keep this evening going. So I'd like to make a motion to,
Any abutters, Lynn?
oh, I'm sorry. I was going to just close it. I thought I did abutters and no one said anything. I'd like any comments from the public?
Thanks for confirming.
Yep. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to close case 21-23. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Steve Feeney?
Aye.
Larry Keane?
Aye.
And Chris Blizos?
Aye.
Okay. So we voted 5-0 to close. So we're working with 10.11, seeking a variance for relief from 602, which is the dimensions and density, which we just went over. And 10.12 is the special permit. So we need to vote on a variance and then vote on a special permit. Let's start with the special permit. Second. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit for 494 Ocean Street for the 24-foot by 6-foot pergola on the property at 494 Ocean Street. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
and Chris Blizos.
Aye.
Okay, that's a special permit. So the variance, as we discussed, or I discussed, the conditions 1 through 5, circumstances are unique. Strict application of the provisions of the bylaw would deprive the applicant of reasonable use. Unique conditions and circumstances are not the result of actions of the applicant taken. Relief, if approved, will not cause substantial detriment to the public or good, or impair the purposes of the intent of the bylaw. Relief, if approved, will not constitute a grant of special privilege inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the district. So the board is in contention that that is accurate. And then we will move forward. I'm just going to make a motion to grant the variance with those conditions being met. Lynn Fiddler, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler. Nay. Brian Murphy.
Aye.
Mark Stiles.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Chris Blizos.
Aye.
Okay. We have a vote of 4-1. And this variance has been approved. And a vote of 5-0, the special permit approved. Okay, you're all set. Thank you.
That takes a little stress off.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. And, you guys all be safe, okay?
All right, take care.
Yeah.
Doug,
No.
you guys should just reach out to me this week, and we'll go over how to finalize everything. We'll do it. We'll amend the permit. I'll come up and do an inspection, and you guys should be good to go.
Okay, great. I'll reach out to you. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank
Great.
you. Thank you. It is 8 o'clock. Does the board want to take a 5-minute break before we get into these other big hearings? Let's just take a 5-minute break. I'd like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess, resuming at 8:06, thereabouts. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Everybody, Mark,
Aye.
Murph,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Polisos.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Okay, folks, again, we are back from recess. It's the March 23rd, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals. We have made it through our new hearings. It is currently 8:08. And we are going into our continued hearings to date certain. And we have 3 hearings, 2108, 2110, and 2119. 2108 is where we're going to start off. And we read this into the record at the previous hearing. Like, there was a question on the as-built.
Can I just jump in for a second?
Sure.
They never responded to my emails.
Okay.
So should we give them one more chance to continue it and I'll write a letter?
They're not here this evening, obviously. No. Yeah, I think that we need to reach out, but via mail. Because this is, how many times now is this? The 4th?
2, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could do that for us, Nancy, and I'm content with asking the board to continue it to April 13th. But what are we, if we've waited this long, what are our obligations for that next hearing currently? We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We already have 4 on the docket for that hearing. What's the next hearing after that?
May 11th.
Let's move it to May 11th. And hopefully they can work with that.
Is this another applicant who's missing their plot plan?
They haven't responded. Yeah.
Makes sense to put that in the letter as well.
Yeah.
Will do.
Anything else we need to do with them, Nancy?
I believe that was the only thing that was missing.
Okay. All right. I'd like to make a motion for case 21-08 for William Smith, 115 Monitor Road, to allow a continuance to May 11th. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Murph?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy?
Aye.
Mark Stiles?
Aye.
Steve Feeney? Did I not do a roll? Steve Feeney? He's back. I'm going to excuse your vote on this, Steve. Larry Keane?
Aye.
And Chris Polisos?
Aye.
Okay. So Lynn, Brian, Mark, Larry, and Chris voted to agree to the extension to May 11th. And Nancy, you're going to send a letter and reiterate the site plan concerns. Okay.
Yes.
All righty. Moving right along. So we had 2000 Ocean Street. We've read it into the record. The applicant has been in front of us once and was working on a site plan for the board. Do we have the applicant with us this evening? Mr. Wild? Nancy, did you see his cue in on the Zoom meeting earlier?
I didn't look after the first 15 to 20 minutes, and I don't see him now.
I didn't see him earlier either.
I spoke with him on Friday because he wanted to make sure that we got the site plan.
Okay. All right, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and perhaps you could send him a text message. Perhaps he just stepped away from Zoom.
We can still hear it, right, without him, or no?
No, I wouldn't prefer not to hear it without the applicant. This one's a little, yeah.
Make sure you're okay on the timeframes too, to act.
I'm sorry, Bob?
Make sure you're okay on the timeframes for the board to take action.
I believe he gave us an extension. Nancy, did he give us an extension?
I don't believe so.
I know he was.
Remember, the board has 100 days to act on a variance. So
I think we were within the time frame because it's probably. I'd have to pull up the. Hang on.
Was that March 9th? February 9th?
I'm pulling it up now.
I have it as February 9th.
February 9th. I'm going to send a text now.
Thank you.
My cowgirl, I'm doing his closing. He said, I heard you look like the union.
Okay. Well, in any event, let's not hold up the board and we'll move forward to the next case and go back to 2110. The applicant is ready for that. So we're looking at 21-19, 624 Webster Street, Manuel Francis and Sons, Inc. I saw Frank Hubbard.
The Zoom. He said Carol was on the Zoom. So
yes, Lynn, I'm here.
Hi, Frank.
The owners of the property, the architect and civil engineer.
Okay, they can introduce themselves as we get moving here. I'm going to read this into the record and we'll get started. This is 2119 Manuel Francis and Sons Incorporated. The petitioner is seeking site plan approval in accordance with 305-12.02 of the Marshfield Municipal Code and a special permit under 305-10.10 and 305-11.03 to construct a golf driving range accessory structure and an approximately 370 square foot addition on the existing clubhouse, and to perform site grading related to the construction of the new driving range on the property located at 624 Webster Street, which is further identified on the assessor's maps as being on parcel I06-05-13A and I06-05-13B, and is located in an R2 zoning district. I'll be your hearing officer this evening. I know you have a lot of folks there with you, Frank, but we're going to ask Andrew if he could put up your application.
Okay.
And get just the housekeeping done from our end. I'd like to remind the board that there was a lot of attachments and emails for this particular project. So we're gonna probably should have an index of what we have at this point. Andrew, are you working on the applications for 2119?
I've got it up on site here, Lynn. I've got it up on the page.
Okay, I don't see it yet. Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all good. Okay. Nancy, did you get a letter today from the planning board with any recommendations for this project?
It should be in the file.
Okay, so Andrew has that. I haven't seen that yet, but that's fine. We'll just keep going through this process. I'm just. Okay. And the deed. So we're working with the site plan and special permit board members. Pre-existing golf course in an R2 by special permit is allowed. The facility is consistent with our bylaws. Okay. Okay. Yeah, before we get into the paperwork back and forth in the planning board and the conservation and ZBA site visits, etc. I just like to make a quick comment that I did go for a site visit to this property a few weeks ago before our previous hearing, and then this was requested to be held this evening. And during that hearing, that site visit, I had Heidi Conway, who's not with us this evening, and Nancy was there for taking notes. There are a few things that I commented on, and I believe that the applicant has provided a letter in response to those comments. I don't know if the rest of the board was able to make it out there. I didn't see any emails that they were. It's one of those projects that I would recommend that the board do take a peek and see what's actually on the ground, get your eyes on there, boots on the ground, as we say.
I did, Lynn. I went out to this location
Okay,
also.
excellent, excellent. And I'd like to also reiterate that what you're seeing in front of you is a definitive site plan. The first site plan that we received a few weeks ago has now been updated to the March 17th revised plan. So I want to make sure that the board is also aware of that. So the bottom right-hand corner needs to say March 17th, 2021. And that's what we'll be talking about this evening, rather than working back and forth on plans that have been updated. So Frank, why don't you explain what you have planned for your client, and let's see where this goes.
I'm just going to, what I'm going to do, Lynn, is just highlight a few things from the site plan and the application and the special permit application.
Okay.
Then I'm going to turn it over to Manny Francis and John Harrington from Green Harbor Golf Club course, so that they can talk about the history of the course and what lies ahead for the future.
Okay.
Following that will be Dana Altobello of Merrill Engineering and he will go through the civil engineering aspects of the site plans. And then finally, it'll be Jim Wilson who will cover the architectural details of the plan. Okay. So for the site plan review, I just wanted to highlight the fact that the existing screening will be maintained, and that additional screening will be added to the property for the where the abutters are. Okay. Yeah. There are 3 additional ADA accessible parking spaces added to the parking lot. That'll raise the total to 5. The septic system will be updated, and the lighting will not spill out beyond the property line. That'll be facing downward. And then there's also a stormwater management plan. As you're probably aware, some existing buildings that were on the property have been raised, and that area will be made, it will not be covered with an impervious surface. As far as the special permit is concerned, as you mentioned, it's in an R2 zone, and this use is allowed by special permit. And the golf course currently has a special permit, so it's meeting all the existing zoning requirements. There's no change in use. I mean, it's still going to remain a golf course. So there was some debate as to whether we needed to apply for a special permit, but being overly cautious, we decided to do that and go ahead with that. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Manny Francis and John Harrington, and they can give you a history of the property and an overview of what the future plans are.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So Manny, I'll go first, and then you can add.
Thank you, John.
Sure. So as we were preparing for tonight,
just identify yourself for the record again, because we can't.
I'm John Harrington.
Okay, thank you.
Son-in-law to Judy Francis, the owner of the golf course.
Okay.
To Carrie Francis.
Yeah.
Manny and Wendy are also on the call tonight.
Okay.
This is my mom. Yeah.
Judy is on the call, so representing the family.
Yeah.
So I am also on the board of directors. So 5 years ago, when our patriarch, Mr. Francis, passed away, we created a board of directors to look at the next 50 years. This year, we're really proud to celebrate our 50th year in business in Marshfield, and we're looking towards the future. And we thought it's probably helpful for you to understand why now and why this project. And so there's a couple of catalysts for why we're addressing this. First and foremost, golf is a pretty challenging business prior to COVID, at least. 800 golf courses in the United States closed in the last 10 years. At the same time, 2,300 driving ranges opened. That's the first piece of business, which really the golf dynamic is changing. The second piece is that in order for us to be competitive, we need to keep up with our competitors across the state. When we first opened the golf course 50 years ago, we were the only public golf course in town. There's many more now competing with us. All of those major competitors have driving ranges and full facilities. So we no longer can be in the hot dog and cold sandwich business in order to compete. So that's another area where you really need to focus on. And the third piece really represents what was really a hardship for us. After my father-in-law passed away, Judy left the property. And so those houses have been vacant for a long period of time. And they are really represent for the family a difficult challenge. We can't sell them because no one's going to live on the middle of a golf course. It's a real difficult situation. Second, we really couldn't rezone them for commercial. At one time, the family talked about converting the houses to a wedding pavilion, but that's really not our core business, nothing that we really understand. And it didn't make any sense for us to pursue that. And furthermore, the houses are in disrepair over time. They're costing taxes, flood insurance, and maintenance and upkeep. And it became a time where we really need to leverage that land and put it to work, to put it to good use for the family. And so that's really the catalyst for why we're approaching this project today, to ensure that we can be competitive in the marketplace and to add more value to our customers and to the town. So Manny, you want to add to the?
No, John, that's you said that beautifully. Yeah, we've been here now, hard to say, 50 years, and we want to continue that relationship with the town. For me, I'm always thinking of the future, and the future is the young ones. Bringing these kids into a game, it's very difficult, and the driving range to me will be that ability to teach in a better atmosphere. So I'm excited for it. That alone is, plus all the other things that we're going to bring to the town, I think is going to be exciting for, as well as the people here in town. So I'm very excited.
Okay. Well, thank you both for that history of the town of Marshfields Golf Course. We're all appreciative of this space. And so I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say and how we're going to make this work with the town ZBA, and hearing how the Conservation Commission is going to work through it with you and planning. So why don't we start, Andrew? I know that Frank did just describe another couple of
yeah, Lynn, let me have Dana, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let me have him speak, and he can tell you which site plans and so forth he's referencing as he speaks.
Okay.
Sure. Or if it's easier, I could share my screen with you and kind of go through on from my side, if that's any easier at all too.
We haven't really been sharing the screen, but I leave that option up to Andrew.
Okay. I'm going to continue to run it here. Yeah. You can just walk me through it.
I just want to make sure, as you're going through, that we understand which sheet we're referring to, so we have it for the record, and that we're able to expand into the areas as we go. So,
sure.
Are you comfortable with us starting on? Well, actually, we had C11 in front of us, March 17, 2021, which maybe it would be smart to just go back to the first sheet.
Yeah, Dana, just tell me where you want to go. I'll go there.
Yeah.
Actually, we have prepared kind of a presentation plan, which
then that's fine.
All the sheets. I sent that to Nancy, so it
yeah, that's fine. We've been doing Zoom for a while now. We're getting pretty adept at it. And
Dina, this is I just want to jump in. There was only one sheet on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So it kind of blends everything together. It just makes it so we don't have to bounce around quite as much. It's a little bit easier to follow too.
Okay. Well, let's hear what you have to say, and I'm sure the board has questions and comments.
Okay. Should I wait for that plan, or
which plan sheet is it?
It's a presentation plan that I had sent to Nancy earlier today. I think she.
Does the board have that, Nancy?
I forwarded it out. I believe it was the
should say M color maybe.
The most recently saved one, Andrew.
One you sent out at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's probably like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, something like that.
Yeah, I got it 5:42. It came to me.
Oh.
I think. Maybe not. Oh, I take that back.
If you look at Andrew in the actual file, it should be there.
I'm making Dana its co-host.
That didn't take long. I said earlier today we need an index for this property for the attachments. We've done that with some projects.
Yeah, sometimes I have a bunch queued up. So I can
Nancy, you'll have to do that because I'm a co-host. You're the host on this, so you'll have to make Dana the co-host too.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption.
It's all good.
There you go.
Dana.
Oh, there it is.
Lost the screen.
And so I'll start off maybe with an aerial. I'm sure we're all familiar with Green Harbor. This is kind of an aerial view that kind of zooms out over the entirety of the course itself. This is Webster Street down here. You have Ocean Street at 139 up in this area, and the Marshfield Airport is up in the top right area of the screen, along with the Green Harbor River, which kind of weaves its way through here and ultimately comes down and crosses Webster Street in this area and runs along the 10th fairway in this area. This is the M color I was referencing. Kind of just blends everything. It's got a little bit of the lighting and the layout plan and the grading utility plan. But as you can see, it's a large course. It's comprised of approximately 140 acres, broken up amongst 2 parcels. Historically, it's been a golf course, as Frank mentioned. There are some residential structures on there, or that were on there. There are extensive wetlands, which you can see here. They're kind of this blue dotted line that run kind of along the property here. And there's the Green Harbor River is over here on the left side of the screen. The wetland buffers are also shown in green with the 25, 50, 75, and 100-foot buffer. And then the 100 and 200-foot riverfront areas are shown kind of in this magenta color running along here. So a good portion of the driving range and the new buildings is located within that. These resource areas were flagged by Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration towards the end of 2020. As part of this project, as Frank probably alluded to, these existing residential structures, which are in this area, were used by the fire department for training and have since been removed from the property. There's also an existing garage over in this area, which will be removed as part of this project. And as you can see, it's very close to the existing wetland resource areas, approximately 5.5 feet off the wetlands, I believe. The project proposes to expand the existing golf course facility to provide a new driving range, which will be approximately 612 feet long, or 204 yards from the driving range bays out to the furthest netting area. There'll be safety netting along the side of the range, varying in heights from 60 to 100 feet. Obviously in this area closer to the bays, we'd only need about 60 feet. As you get out here where somebody like me would be slicing and probably hitting the ball a little bit higher, you'd probably want to get up around the 100 just to make sure that we have the people on the 10th tee box over here covered and protected. We're also proposing a 370 square foot addition to the clubhouse. This will help them transfer into or transition into a full restaurant and bar with full drink service and menu, as well as drink service and food service out to the driving range bays. This will be kind of a driving range similar to something like you'd see at Topgolf. It's not technically Topgolf, but it's going to use the same technology for ball tracking and things like that. So you'll be able to hit it, out of one of these 16 bays, you'll be able to hit the ball out. It'll kind of track your swing speed, ball speed, rotations, anything like that. You'll be able to see it land on the green itself, and it will tell you how far, the different dynamics of your swing, and it comes along with some interesting games too, so you can get the entire family involved, and pretty much everybody enjoys it. We're also including improvements to the on-site parking. We have proposed down in this area 3 additional ADA parking spaces, and there are 2 spaces down in this area to bring us up to a total of 5 spaces. This brings us into compliance for the number of spaces on the property. We've also included the construction of a new septic system out in this area, which would be compliant with the state environmental code Title V. Currently, there's a septic system up in this area, which is a little bit lower than it should be. It's a little bit in the groundwater, et cetera, with the site being so low. We've also proposed to remove, currently there's some existing paved driveways up in this area. As you can see, there's existing driveways here with the existing house. This system kind of loops down here and across over here. So we'll be removing all of this driveway system, replacing it with a newly relocated gravel drive system around the outside of the driving range itself. Currently on site, the golf course has maintained lawn areas, as you can see, basically right up to the bordering vegetated wetlands. And there are structures that get very close to the wetlands. As I mentioned, there's this existing building, which is approximately 5.6 feet off the wetland resource area. There's a utility pole that's about the same in this area. So we've shown the driving range poles for the netting kind of inside the existing gravel road. As you can see, there's existing utility poles outside of that, much closer to the wetlands. So all of the work we're proposing is within previously altered areas. There's no new undisturbed areas that are being altered as part of this process, this project. It's all previously altered areas, and we're just maintaining the existing setbacks. So any new structures will be further from the wetland resource areas than the existing structures on the site. The site has been designed to be in compliance with the Stormwater Management Handbook for both water quality and quantity. The purpose of the Stormwater Management Standard number 2 is to ensure that peak rates of runoff from projects do not exceed the pre-development rate. This project, the down gradient receiving water for it is the Green Harbor River, which is a large coastal water body with downstream or coastal floodplain within it. So it's basically it's tidal, it's large, and it's connected to the ocean. So it's going up and down on its own. So there's really no way to increase the elevation of the water surface with that. So in this instance, it's assumed to be de minimis, any impacts from the property. With that in mind, we are, as I mentioned, removing approximately 17,000 square feet of impervious area for this driveway system in existing houses. So just by the virtue of that being removed, we would definitely be reducing the peak rates of runoff towards that Green Harbor River anyways. We have done some soils testing on the property. We found really good coarse gravel out there. So it's something consistent with a hydrologic soil group A soil, which is really good soils. So that kind of lends itself perfectly to working with the low impact development credit number 2 in the Stormwater Management Handbook, which allows you to redirect roof runoff towards qualifying pervious areas, as long as they're relatively flat and extremely, well, not extremely, but just permeable. So, water basically will come from the roof runoff here, go into a gravel level spreader, and then just evenly flow and distribute down this grass fairway here into the. It'll be treated and it'll infiltrate into the ground. So with this qualifying pervious area, the assumption is made that the stormwater from the building and the gravel areas will be meeting the requirements of the Stormwater Management Handbook for water quality and quantity. The entire site will be meeting all of the standards of the Stormwater Management Handbook. We have also, as Frank mentioned, requested a special permit for the site for the associated site grading that goes along with the construction of the driving range building up in this area. From a civil engineering perspective, the proposed expansion, as I mentioned, does meet the Massachusetts stormwater standards. There will be a new compliant septic system installed up in this area, which will handle all of the increase in flows from the additional seats and the additional flows from the restaurant itself. Any watering that's going to be required for this area to keep the grass green, et cetera, will just be coming from the existing irrigation system that's on site. So there will be no impact on the town's water system. And excuse me, we have met with the Conservation Commission informally last week as well, just to review the project and to make sure that they had no major concerns with the proposed project as it's currently laid out. They seem to receive it well. They had no major issues or concerns. I just kind of summarized the meeting and copied Nancy in. And we did hear back from our hearing officer, Rick Carberry, as well. And he confirmed that there were no major impacts as far as the Conservation Commission were concerned. We also did receive some comments this afternoon from the town planner, Greg Guimond. There were two issues. One was parking. The second one was lighting. With regards to the parking, if we include the currently, right now, we have the owners have a temporary outdoor seating license right now for, I believe it's 3 high-top tables with 4 seats around it, as well as 6 2-seat tables for a total of 24 seats. So if we take that into account with the additional seats in the driving range bays and the seats proposed in the restaurant area, we would need a total of 72 spaces for that. And then if we make the assumption that everybody that tees off drives to the course, so there's 4 cars per hole, we'd have another 72 spaces. I'm sorry, that would have been 47 spaces for the restaurant. And then if we make the assumption that everybody drives themselves and 4 people tee off at every hole, that would be an additional 72 holes for a total of 119 spaces required for the site.
Can I
sure.
Just for a second, where the board is, can we just look at sheet C 3.1, which is zoning, and then the board backs up your verbal explanation with hard data. So it's C3.1, it's the bottom right corner.
Yes.
Yeah, right there. And then we're seeing versus hearing, right? We can just expand in on that.
Sure. So
I can't.
We would have 44 spaces. Sorry, I was trying to roll through earlier, and then
I know. Sometimes when you just keep going, we just need to kind of dial back for a second, actually get our bearings.
You're absolutely right. I have it over on the corner of that other plan too.
Yeah, I know.
So we have
so just explain through your legend there, and then the board can follow along.
Sure. So we'd have a total of 44 spaces required, but we'd have 94 seats in the restaurant and 80 in the driving range. I think there might be some give and take in those. It might flop around a little bit, but ultimately we'll have 174 seats. If we have 1 space per 4 seats or whatever, then that brings us to 44 spaces required total. Additionally, on site currently right now, we have 142 spaces with 2 ADA spaces included. And as I was mentioning, if we make the assumption that if every person teeing off drives to the course that day, that's 18 holes times 4, that's 72 spaces. So that brings us up to a total of, it's 117 spaces, I believe, are required to meet the bylaw requirements. Currently on site, there's 142 spaces, but with the changeover in between holes, people kind of sticking around a little bit, there seems to be a little need for some additional spaces. So we're certainly keeping an eye on that. But with that in mind, we have included an additional 15 spaces, 10 of which will be for employee parking over in this area. Kind of in this area, there's an existing grass area. So we can utilize that for, on days when there's a much higher peak of cars on site, we can have employees park in this area on the grass using the grass paved 2 system. So it'll look like grass, it'll be pervious like grass, but it'll be strong enough to maintain the weight of a car. It won't rut, it's not gonna ruin the grass. It's a perfect setting for this. So it doesn't impact the wetland resource areas. We're not putting some pavement right next to it, but it firms up the land so that we can use that in overflow times.
Okay, so Rod Parcatino discussed that as part of his analysis and question and answering type. There was a memo. Is that where that came from, or was that part of
we had proposed it, but we hadn't shown very much information. So as part of what he requested, I kind of showed that the spaces laid out here. We'd have 5 spaces on either side.
No, I don't. 24. What is that? What is the sheet that you're showing right now? I don't have that in front of me.
So
the legend, and how does that?
Sure. If we go back to the sheet we were just
the one that you prepared for tonight's. I just want to have that for the record. What you were going off originally when you were giving your spiel.
Sure. This is just a presentation plan. It's been submitted to the board, but it's not really anything new. It's just pretty.
Okay. Can you just move over where you used it as an example so we can see the legend on it for the record?
Sure.
Thank you. Keep going.
Okay.
I can't. I can't see it. Sorry.
You can't see that?
There we go. Yeah. So this is just your presentation plan. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Good enough.
Okay. So
go ahead.
So in total, well, we've added 15 new spaces, including those 10 new employee spaces up in this area, and there's 6 new spaces, I'm sorry, down in this area, including the 3 ADA compliant spaces, which brings us up to a total of 157. So we're adding on an additional 15 spaces on top of what's out there currently. So you know, we're going to keep an eye on it. If there's a need for more spaces, then you know, we'll certainly try to handle that as it comes. And if that happens, that's certainly a good thing for the golf course.
Okay, so the 94 seats in the restaurant that you described, does that include your outside seating that the selectmen allowed for the COVID?
That did not. That was internal.
That was just internal. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So when you're not here in front of us for a site plan approval of your outside seating near the near your putting green and the current COVID, I'm going to call it the COVID area right now. You're here only for the bays, the 16 bays that you've described, with the tee off area and the 5 seats behind each bay.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so are you asking the board for site plan approval for beverage? And I'm a little bit confused there. You probably come back later once you have that identified. We're here only for the structure, the use.
I believe they already have the license to sell the alcohol and food, if I'm not mistaken, but Frank may be able to speak to this.
I don't want to get into something that's not part of what our purpose for being here this evening is. So
sure. I
just want to make sure that, Frank, what's your take?
Yeah, no, we're not before you as far as any amendments to the liquor license. We're staying with what we have right now.
So as far as this board is concerned, you're not looking for our approval of any sort of beverage, restaurant service or anything like that.
No, we believe we have all the necessary permits for that.
You believe you do?
Yes.
For this new driving bays?
Yes.
For the range? Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you receive that?
That is covered under both the current liquor license, because it allows alcohol down to the area of the first tee, and it's also covered by the COVID license.
But this doesn't include what's in this new use.
No, but that new use is within the area of the first tee.
Okay.
Okay. So we felt that there was no need to amend or apply for or to amend the existing liquor license.
So when we have folks outside, as you may be aware, the board weighs in on that as a site plan. So all right. I think we're going to just move past this and go on to something else. But I think you've answered my question.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I didn't want to cut you short. I just want to make sure that the board, as you're going, if I don't understand it, it's maybe likely someone else doesn't understand it. Okay.
No, that makes sense.
Hey, Lynn, does Dana have much longer to go here, or?
I'm not exactly sure. Dana?
I was just had one more item that Greg Guimond had sent over. I was just going to address the lighting. It's basically top tracker lighting that comes part of their system.
Yeah.
We had included a lighting plan that just basically confirms that there won't be any spillover beyond the property line. As you can see, there's a lot of zeros outside of this, outside of the driving range. He had referenced 2 streets. that he was concerned with spillover. As you can see, there's zeros back behind the driving range. And I believe Fresh Brook Way is back in this area. So
we have Fresh Brook Way and Fairway's Edge as a possible spillover of light. At least they perhaps be able to see it in the evening. So I was with him and asked him questions as far as if he could read on your plans while I was trying to read on them where the lighting sources would be coming from. And as you know, it's difficult to work off a computer without having actual hard paper in front of you. So
sure.
If you could identify where the lighting is proposed on those poles or at the building itself or where, that would be great.
Sure, it's actually, so their system, as I mentioned, it's cameras. It's kind of coming out from the building. So in this area, if you can see my cursor right now, they basically center it on the front of the building. There's lighting that goes out into the fairway from there. It has cameras that monitors each ball that's coming out of there. So it kind of lights facing out that way. So the lighting is off the face of the building and heading out in this direction. And as you can see, as we get in back here, once we get to the end of the driving range, we're at zeros in this area as well. So it's not going out beyond that. And then the other road that we had discussed was Fairway's Edge, which is kind of down off in this area. So there should be no impacts. Kind of see over in this area. The driving range would be heading in this area. This is Fresh Brook Way in this area, and this is Fairway's Edge down here. So the lighting would actually be aimed a little more towards probably the airport, which is about 4,400. Actually, Macro Way, Macro Terrace, I think it is about 4,400 feet away, and even Clark Lane is about 2,000 feet away up in this direction.
Okay.
I think that's pretty much it that I had. Jim Wilson can handle any questions if you have anything on the architectural plans.
Okay. There's a lot of, my point for kind of stopping you as you were going was that there's a lot of documents and there's a lot of plans, et cetera, et cetera. So my feeling is that this is a great introduction to this project. I know that you're coming in front of conservation on April 7th. Is that correct?
Yeah, April 6th.
April 6th, okay. So what I would like to do is let the board ask some questions and then let the public comment and then keep this record open and come back and revisit this. Let the board get out there and get their boots on the ground and come back at this on the 13th. So, Jim, we have the plan. Just before we cut over to the board and to the public, can you pull up A303?
Yeah, I don't have control here.
Okay, maybe Andrew can regain control, or.
Do you want me to give it back, or do you want me to?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
So this is just quickly for the board and the public. So the gentleman in the front, and I don't know why there's not a lady there, but I'll let that slide. The gentleman in the front is actually teeing off and hitting out to the driving range. Behind that, there's an area with 5 seats and a table, as far as I could understand. And behind that is just a viewing area. Is that correct?
Yeah, the area towards the back is the corridor where you access all the different bays. Right. So that, yes, and it's also a viewing area. So wait service that would be coming down there. Anybody using the bays, obviously going up and down that corridor, staying staying aside separatty. So yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I know that the distance of this driving range is not a full 330 or 350. This is more 100 short of that. So this is more a target golf type situation, correct?
Yeah, to an extent, yes. As Dana mentioned before, they're utilizing the top tracer system. So it's the golfers are not just hitting the balls out randomly, they're actually competing online computer with other people.
Okay.
And so it's kind of an upgraded system is what you're usually seeing.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I'd just like to make a comment if I could. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Larry.
On this, I just think it's
Murph, wait a minute. Larry first. Murph.
Well, needs to be
Murph.
Understand what's in front of me, and
Murph.
Being oversimplified, I guess. What?
You just spoke over Larry. That's fine.
No, let Brian go right ahead. I'm fine.
All right, Brian. Brian, go ahead.
I've done my site visit here. I'm looking at this as a site plan approval and a small addition, and they're actually improving the property by making it less non-conforming by removing the structures there. I'm ready to answer this tonight. I would assume they want to get in for the growing season, and there'll be other reasons to try and get it done. I have no problem with this application.
This comes with 1103, Brian. Has this applicant met the requirements for 1103?
Filling a land and water.
I don't even know where they're filling. I mean,
That's the.
What are you asking me, Lynn?
The
filling of
applicant,
the land?
1103.
The filling of the land.
Yep.
So what is your question on it?
The bylaw in regards to 1103, has it been met?
I think it will be met.
I want to understand that.
And ask whatever questions you need to ask.
Well, I'm getting the feeling that we've gone on too long from you. Is that how you feel? Do you want? I'm not.
No, I think
tonight, so.
I've been to the site. I've reviewed it. It's very involved. Very well described, but not to be making it simple. That this is making a non-conforming structure more non-conforming. It's all working within the area that's already been disturbed. So I just don't understand why this. I don't know why we need to continue on discussing this. I'm ready to debate it tonight and talk about it. I'm okay with what I see, and I've done my site visit.
All right, Larry, what would you like to say?
Well, I just reading through this, I agree with a lot of what Brian just said. Reading through this, if I'm correct, this business has been here since 1966. So it's got to be one of the longest run family businesses in Marshfield, and frankly, probably a premier business in Marshfield. The COVID environment we've had in the last year has been not only affecting restaurants, and it's been in all businesses. So we need to give all reasonable tools and exemptions possible to not only survive, but to prosper here. And what they're doing, again, is they're improving this area. They're making it more non-conforming, more conforming, and clearly improving. As was pointed out, the vast majority of golf courses have these driving ranges. So in order for them to remain a premier business in Marshfield, this is probably something that's absolutely necessary for them to survive and prosper. I'd be willing to continue tonight also. Yeah, they'd absolutely, this season's coming quick. I'm sure they'd like to get going as soon as possible.
Right.
So
well, I know they're going in front of conservation. We've got the structure, the poles and the netting and things like that have been provided to the board for our review.
Absolutely.
Quick question.
Yeah.
It strikes me as I sort of agree with what you're saying, Larry. And the big difference from what they've been doing over the years, and we're not debating the hours of operation and things of that nature. That's apparently not part of our purview. The one issue that does jump to mind here is the new thing that you're introducing here is a significant amount of light. My question for you is, have you had any interaction with the airport, which is essentially in the same line as your driving range, as to if there's any issue between the lighting that you're presenting and any needs or safety issues that they have along that runway?
Yes, we've actually submitted plans to both Mass DOT and the FAA, more in concern with the height of the poles that hold up the netting, where we're so close to the flight path, and they're I think it's called a deck for the Marshfield Airport. So they're reviewing the plans. I can bring to their attention the lighting that didn't come up at this point. They're more concerned with the elevation of the plane. I mean, the elevation of the poles, which are 100 feet tall. And that seems to be outside of any hazard areas within the airport itself. But that's something I can certainly bring to their attention as well. It's something that they haven't asked to this point, but we are still getting them information and going through the process with them.
So
we have actually
went through this years ago over at South Weymouth with the old air base. So yeah. I'm assuming that your pole is going to be lower than most of the trees. So it probably won't be in some of the trees anyways. So they're probably not going to be a problem a mile from the airport. But the lighting issue strikes me as, having read some other circumstances around this, certainly might be something to look at.
Yeah, we certainly will. We have reviewed it with the Marshfield Airport Commission as well. I ran this by them and their consultant as well, Bob Mallard from Aviation.
And what was their response? They had no issue with that?
They felt that we were under the threshold, so we were not going to penetrate their flight path or whatever. We're below the flight path was their initial assessment on that. But we do have to go through the FAA and Mass DOT as well. So that's where we're at now.
And how far is the airport from this location?
It's about 7,000 feet, I think, more or less.
I think you said the end of the runway was 4,400 feet earlier.
I misspoke. That was 4,400 too. I think it's Macro Way, which is sort of across. So
maybe that's fine.
It's just under a mile.
Yeah,
it's just under a mile. It's about 5,200 feet.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a considerable distance.
Yes.
And what time would those lights be turned off at night after closing? Is that correct?
It'd be similar to a noise use or whatever. It'd just be on with the operation hours of the driving range.
Mm-hmm. And they'd really be directional lighting in towards the golf course, correct?
Absolutely.
That's correct. It'd be flying. It'd be kind of aiming down the golf course.
Up and aiming down. So you'd be illuminating the actual golf course itself.
Yes. So just the driving range area.
Yep. Beautiful.
So will you be able to see it from Webster Street when it's lit?
It's going to be pointing out the other. You'll be able to see as much as you'll be able to see a lit parking lot, I think. But it's not going to be shining at Webster Street at all.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Are you still planning to go till 11 o'clock with the lighting?
I think that's their optimal goal, I believe. Manny and John can probably speak to that a little better, but I think that was the ideal goal. I'm not sure if they'll make it there, but that'd be nice to have that flexibility, as I understand it.
We do have a lighting plan. It was in the email yesterday. I think he showed it. Yeah. So for those of us that are.
And that would also be seasonal, correct? I mean, in many months you wouldn't be out there till 11 o'clock. Is that correct?
We need to go over that as a site plan package. So the applicant has provided a request for operation. So we haven't gone over that yet.
No, I was just addressing the lighting situation, whereas granted it's 11 o'clock, but a lot of times many months it's not going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that it is our mission is to be a family friendly facility. So our intention is to provide a place for families to come have dinner, have an entertainment space, and that's full stop. We don't intend on being open late. We haven't had that kind of traffic before, but it's the expectation is to allow people to enjoy this bucolic setting at night as a family, and so that's our intention. As far as the light's concerned, it's consistent with what you would have at a ball field. The lights are blinking down. There's no intent or purpose to light up the sky, because we want to see the ground with the ball.
I get it.
Yes.
So we can make this as compliance with 809, which is the lighting bylaws. But Greg Guimont did take a peek at this, and I believe that's part of his letter as well. So, and the board hasn't seen that unless you've looked at that. I haven't had a chance to see that yet. So,
as Brian pointed out, though, this has been information overload. We've got an absolute lot going on. This is
I know. So that's why there's just so much information. I really would like to bring this to the public, have them weigh in, and then continue it, which would be good because that way we will have any changes in the structure, the poles, the Concom will know exactly where the poles are going. It's just part of our due diligence. I don't think it's going to hold them up.
Well, I think we should just ask the board if we're ready to vote tonight or not.
Okay, well, let's get to the public. Any questions from the public?
I think Judy does.
She was voting yes. It's okay. Yeah.
Oh.
Any questions from the public? Okay. Any further comments or concerns from the board? Did the board have an opportunity to review the structure itself and the pedestrian pathways and the site and phases?
This, I read through these. I appreciate the fact too that they're using a like an AstroTurf type material for parking. I think that's very environmental friendly. Yes. Great idea.
So they've identified an area up the middle connecting out to the 10th fairway with safety fencing, and there was an email as part of our packet for that. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So during the phased approach, this is the construction fencing to allow the public to gain access and safely maneuver around the property. Okay. What's the actual square footage of the actual driving range?
I think it's in the 140,000 square foot range.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I'd like to continue this to April 6th. I'm sorry. Yes, April 6th. I know Brian wants to vote on it tonight.
It's the 13th.
I'm sorry, April 13th. The Concom's April 6th.
Have the board vote on it, what we want to do.
I'd like to continue it. Brian?
I'd like to discuss this and finish it tonight.
Mark Stiles?
Well, I'd ask you, Lynn, what is it that you want to continue? I mean, is there some other items that you want to do more research on?
I'd like to discuss with the board the hours of operation, the ADA areas as described, the actual where is the earth moving from highlighted on the plan. I'd like to know that conservation weighed in. I'd like to see the letter from Greg. I haven't seen it yet. Identifying the lighting and how it affects the neighboring property. I understand that was not, the applicant feels that that's not relevant to this, but I haven't seen the letter, so.
Well, it's.
I get it. I
you-
understand. This is a big project, but we did go through a lot tonight.
And you're the chair, so you ultimately
So
can make
I
that
don't,
call.
I mean, I'm only one vote, and that's how I like to run this, and so.
Well, I would just, if we're kind of straw voting it, I will say that I really like the project.
I
but-
do too. I just
but
want
we-
to understand, I just want to make sure that site plan approval, we've met all the criteria and the special permit. I want to look into the comment that Frank made about the previous special permit in regards to the property, but I'm okay. So that's where I stand.
Well, move to continue it then. You're the chair.
Well, with the previous special permit, there's still remaining a golf course. I don't really see anything changing that.
There has to be a consensus. I'm ready to move on this. I don't know how Larry feels. I don't know how Chris feels. I don't know how Steve Feeney feels. But we are a board. It's not up to the chair. It's up to us what we want to do tonight.
Exactly. That's why we're having this discussion. And I don't want to be a pain and drag this out any more than anybody else does, but
Then someone make a
a lot of
motion.
information here.
Lynn is asking us what we want to do, Mark. That's what
I'm
you
giving the board, I'm telling you, I would like to continue it. Murph says he wants to stay at it tonight and see if we can answer my questions and keep going. Mark Stiles, it's already 9:13.
That doesn't matter. Whatever.
Well, Brian gave me an ultimatum earlier that he's done at 9:30. I don't know if that still stands.
But I'm ready to discuss this tonight and finish it. So that's my opinion.
Okay.
And I can make a motion that we close this meeting and discuss it.
Then do it.
I'm doing it. I'm making a motion that we close the meeting. And do I have a second that we close the meeting?
Second.
All in favor?
Wait a second.
Aye, Brian Murphy.
Wait a minute. Lynn should call the votes, okay? You've made the motion. Lynn should call the votes.
I made the motion. It's been seconded.
I know, but she's the chair in this meeting, so she should call the votes, okay? She doesn't
Okay.
make the votes, she calls the votes only.
I apologize for the procedure error.
Lynn, I think you should take a roll call vote as to whether the board is going to close the hearing and discuss it or continue it. And Brian's made a motion that's been seconded. And unless there's any further discussion, you should take the vote of the board.
Okay, I'll take the vote of the board. Brian Murphy has made a motion to
Close the public hearing. Right.
to close the hearing this evening for the special permit and the site plan. And Larry Keane has seconded. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, nay.
Brian Murphy, aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
I kind of agree with you a little bit, Lynn. I haven't been out to look at it. I don't know how badly extending it would affect the applicant, but
That is given the forum.
so
a nay vote is to not close it. An aye vote is to close.
I get it. And it's 3-2. Was it a majority vote?
Majority vote.
Site plan, go ahead, Bob.
Majority vote to close the public hearing. Special permits require 4-1 vote or better. Site plan approval is a majority vote.
So site plan is a 3-2 vote.
Correct.
Special permit is a 4-1 vote.
Right.
Yeah,
So
so
we need
for
to-
the
we
purpose
need
of
to do
closing
this
the
in-
hearing, I'll be a nay.
Oh, that's it then.
That's not.
Did everybody vote? I thought I heard 4.
I'm not done. Yeah, Larry Keane,
Um, with that, now this is getting complicated. If I don't want to cause the applicant here any hardship, and I don't want to then get into a situation where the board having a disagreement with our procedures is to causing them any hardship or delays on our part. So, it's kind of difficult here. Would the applicant, if this did continue till April, what was it, 6th?
No,
April
it's
13th.
the 13th. It's a vote,
13th.
Larry, it's,
Okay, I'll vote to close the hearing.
The public hearing is closed, and now you can decide whether you want to debate it. That
so
means
that meant that Larry Keane was the vote in place of Heidi, and I didn't identify Chris Belisos's vote on this.
Okay. Well, if Chris was the alternate and you had, you can always get Chris's vote, which you have a practice of doing, but I don't know.
It's pointless. If the vote is already, if I'm an alternate, then it's pointless to take a vote for me. It just adds more verbiage.
I agree. So the vote is 2 to 3, 3 votes in favor of closing and 2 opposed.
Right. So the hearing is closed.
So the site plan is closed.
Well, did you do special permit or site plan approval? I thought it was, he wanted to close.
We have Brian, I thought Brian motioned for both of them to close.
Right. That's what I thought too.
So if he had both of them to close, he needs 4 votes and he only has 3 votes.
No. It's a majority vote to close the public hearing.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
It's never happened in
Regardless
all
of
the
whether
time
it's a
I've been doing
special
it.
permit, a variance, or a site plan approval. So the
Okay.
public hearing is now closed.
Right.
Now you're gonna decide whether you're gonna deliberate or not.
Okay.
And if you deliberate, you should deliberate right now.
I agree. So we're here for site plan approval for 305-12.02. And does the board want to make any conditions for site plan approval?
I'm gonna suggest that you make the lighting comply with the bylaw requirements.
I have a few notes here to work through, but so the lighting compliance, the ADA. This is not in a WRPD, correct?
It's not.
We need, so the conditions would be to comply with the ADA.
Wouldn't the ADA be all part of the building permit process?
Yes.
You comply with all local, the same thing, the language we
Yes.
get every answer.
Yes. These are just, I'm sorry, I just wasn't, I mean, there's so much information. I'm just going with it right now. So I'm just going over my notes. Conservation Commission, Planning Board have been allowed their input. Can we see Greg Iman's letter, please, Andrew?
All right, we've got to take Dana off of co-host here.
Thank you. So the board right now is only working with their actual, the information they have at hand.
No, do you have Greg's letter somewhere saved?
It should be in the Webster Street file. It's an email with about 8 lines on it.
I'm sorry, I'm just not seeing. Was it uploaded today or something?
Yes, probably around 3:15. He sent it at 3:38.
So I didn't get anything in my email from Greg.
He sent it to me and copied Karen. I assumed that I saved it to the file, but let me forward it to you now. Can you display it that way? Well, actually,
So Bob, are we allowed to do this? Where the meeting is now closed?
To do what?
To find information that we had in our package?
If you have it in your packet, it's part of the record.
Okay.
I think the best way to proceed is just to kind of make sure you understand what you got. You have 2 special permits.
Yep.
One to expand the golf course operation to include this driving range facility. You have site plan approval, and then you have a special permit to allow the filling that's required. And I gave you that memo. Hopefully everybody has it. The criteria are a little different than a alteration of a non-conforming use, because this is slightly different from that, but site plan approval is the same as it would be for any other use. And the special permit for filling is what I think Dana Altabello gave you the information on. And if you agree that he's done it, you can grant the special permit. What I would suggest is a condition, because of the outstanding conservation issues, that if the plan changes as a result of the Conservation Commission or it's materially changed, that they have to come back to the board for approval. And that's the easiest way to handle the conservation issues. By the way, the way the law works, before you go to the Conservation Commission, you're supposed to get all other feasible permits and approvals. So it's not unusual or wrong for the board to weigh in even before the Conservation Commission actually weighs in. But if the Conservation Commission makes changes to the plan that require, that are different from what you've approved, they'll have to get the Board of Appeals approval for the changes, that are required by the Conservation Commission.
Here's the letter, Lynn, from Greg Guimond.
Can you just expand? Sorry.
I'll just read it. It says, "Hi Nancy, thanks for letting me review the plans again to assist a concerned resident. I did notice a couple things that need to be addressed. One, parking. Looks like after adjusting for the new outdoor seating and indoor seating that the golf course parking will be 6 spaces less than previously provided. It is recommended that 6 additional spaces be added to the plans." And then lighting, I could not tell from the lighting information provided if the proposed lighting met the requirements under 305-809, specifically letters B, D, and F. The lighting could be an issue for residents of Freshbrook Way and Fairways Edge Drive.
Okay. All right, so the board all listened to Dana's spiel on the lighting. Are we content that that has been addressed? Or we can just make sure it meets 809. I think it's 809. Is that what it said? Yes.
I think he also said he had some FAA hurdles to jump, right?
Yes. Which is not part of our preview, but it was nice to hear.
Right, it could just be in that blanket statement.
Right.
But as Bob suggested, if there's a material change from the FAA, it has to come back before the board.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and generally speaking, because I represent Marshall Airport Commission and the Plymouth Airport Commission, unless the structures are higher than 200 feet, or they're closer to the landing area, the height of those poles, even at 100 feet, would not be an impediment to this. They wouldn't, the FAA will not allow them to light it, though, in a way that it could be confused with runway lighting. And typically the entrance or the flight paths can't have red lights on the top of those poles unless they're associated with runway lighting that are at incremental heights. So that's where the FAA will come down on this. They won't mind this. It is located far enough back that probably at this distance, there's still several hundred feet in the air, or 500 feet or more. The only one that would be that low would be somebody that's, operating not safely or in accordance with the law.
Okay. So the applicant also provided us with a template for the netting based on a Florida proposed range. Do we have that, Andrew?
What is it now?
I think it was within that. There was an email with 23 some odd pages to it. And within it, and it discussed in Florida, it had the netting had to come down if it was, I think it was if the winds were over 80 miles per hour. I had some concerns with that. I know our wind zones, but I know that that's part of the building code, but I wanted to understand that. So when they put up a net, it's a structure, and we have the ability to hear what they're proposing. So
You could make a condition that the netting associated with the driving range shall be lowered or removed in the event of a storm event that has wind or storm conditions that would jeopardize the integrity of the structures. And if they've got something in their plans and what that was, you can just incorporate those requirements.
yeah, I was under the impression that it was just a templated to be determined type of
Are we opening?
structure. So
If I'm correct, I believe they've been operating netting on this property since 1966. I think they've pretty much got it down pat, no?
I don't know, they have a lot of foot traffic, and there is a risk area around it now that the driving range is going to be there heading out towards.
Well, doesn't the Marshfield Country Club also have the same netting for theirs?
I don't know, but they're not right there at their clubhouse.
So I know there's some personal experience. They do have netting associated with the driving range that is right next to the pro shop, but the driving range is located in a hole. It's not prominent in an open area. It's a little different. It's about 60-foot netting or something like that.
I just wanted the board to be aware, and I'm sure this family is. I mean, they're great, and I know they've been there forever. But this board is part of what we do is understand what the structures themselves are, and that they're safe, and we'll leave that up to Andrew to determine. I know that they're not the first golf range going up. I mean, this is shorter in distance, and stray balls. It's part of the business when you're in golf. But that right there. So the restaurant, including inside patio and driving, including inside patio and driving bays. I didn't understand exactly what they meant by patio. That's the COVID area, but I'm guessing that that's part of the actual area that we identified in the structure itself in the bays. The liquor license is Selectmen. So this one is the Merrill, that's a response from, can you expand in on that? Thank you. So that has to do with some of the things that the Conservation Commissioner came up with, were things that we do have interest in. However, we'll let that.
Lynn?
Yep.
It was Bill Grafton's email. It was sent at 5:30 because that's when he sent it to me.
Okay.
That is saved also to the file.
Okay. So I haven't reviewed that either. So wait a minute. Future maintenance includes repairing of netting, installation of new poles, extension onto poles, blah, 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 blah. Gravel access path, blah, 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 work stuff.
Pointing out that these poles are in areas that are currently being used already, disturbed areas.
But they're not subject to regulations under 131, the Mass 131, Chapter 40. So I'm gonna let the building commissioner.
They mention it in above that it's going to be done in accordance with the state building code 17C.
Yeah.
I'm fine with.
So that just the safety construction fencing as indicated. Okay, stormwater calculations. Oh, I talked about that. My head's gonna explode. I'll change this to them. The operation and maintenance plan did not include a maintenance log form. Okay, it's fine. Natural heritage. The length of this project, I think I had a spreadsheet from Green Harbor Golf on the construction phases. I'm sure they want it done as quickly as possible. I believe it's going to be going on until November for some reason. So we don't need to condition that. I'm just letting the board. Sweeping of the driveways and parking areas, inspect. Wetlands notice. Wetland notice of intent. Okay. So that is expiring or expired. Can you go up? Oh, it goes till the 21st. And then the COVID. Bob, what's going on with the COVID in the restaurants and the outdoor seating through the selectmen? There's an expiration date on that as well.
The selectmen are extending the ability for restaurants to have outdoor seating. The governor has already authorized the ABCC, and the ABCC has already issued guidance indicating that you can still serve outdoors.
Okay, good.
I don't know whether I can't remember this off the top of my head, but there may be a move to alter the zoning to allow things too. So
yeah, so this permit shall expire on March 30th. So that I just want to make sure they're good.
Yeah, the governor's already taken care of the fact that restaurants that are impacted by COVID are going to be able to serve outdoors. So
okay, excellent.
And by the way, golf courses are a completely different nature anyways. They can move at any time to alter their licensed premises to include other buildings and other outdoor areas. And golf courses also have the special exemption for carts. So the entirety of the Marshfield section of Marsh Hill Country Club is considered the licensed premises because they have a golf cart that serves alcoholic beverages.
Oh, so you can go through the whole course.
Yeah, the entirety of the Marshfield side of Marshfield Country Club is a licensed premises. So, but Green Harbor Golf Club here may need to go back to the selectmen to expand their ability to serve on outdoor areas once the state of public health emergency goes away.
Okay. So when they get this up and running,
Yeah,
hopefully.
but that'll be completely up to the selectmen. Have their own rules and regulations
Yeah.
for outdoor service of alcohol. It includes like you have to have line of sight. Somebody has to be there to monitor any areas that are being served, and
The things that we worried about with our other restaurants.
The selectmen handle that as a part of their issuing liquor licenses anyway. So this is a little different. This is a club license too, so it's not a restaurant license, but so it gets a little different.
So that actually says, stop for a second, go up for a little bit. It says lounge, pro shops, tournament room, first tee area, and cellar storage. 3 doors open out of the building at the front. 1 door opens out of the building at one side. So we never even got to the actual addition that these folks are putting on in the back.
The zoning board doesn't worry about where they're allowed to drink alcohol. Only the selectmen do.
Yeah.
Yep. And the restaurant, I mean, the kitchen's being expanded off the back of the building.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be a part of the license.
Yeah, I
permit.
know, I understand that, but we didn't even get into that tonight. So I feel like I'm dragging on to information that we just didn't go over tonight for the benefit of the board, I guess. And I'm in a different spot than usual, so. Maybe I'll stop here and ask the board if they have any further questions, and if they're ready to move for a vote. Brian Murphy.
I'm content with what's in front of me.
Mark Stiles.
Yes, I'm prepared to vote.
Steve Feeney.
At this point, I'm prepared to vote as well.
Thank you. Larry Keane.
I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
Chris Belisos.
I'm ready to vote. I just have one quick question. I'm sorry for dragging this out.
No, it's good.
There was an email earlier referencing the lighting and keeping in compliance with 305, 809 in particular. There were letters cited. Before we put these people in a position where they have a problem down the line, are they comfortable they can comply with those regulations?
I think that we could condition that.
I'm not trying to hold the project up. In fact, I'm trying to do just the opposite.
We can ask them if they've provided our lighting plan. What, Brian?
Ask them.
Well, we could reopen it and you could ask them, you know.
I just don't want to vote on something and then have them have a problem down the road.
First, we can vote to open it up to have them answer that question, if you would be more comfortable with it.
We don't need to do that, I don't think.
I think if the board wants to ask a question, you don't even have to reopen it. If you want the question, you ask it.
Fair enough. I'm asking the question. Are they comfortable with those conditions?
I think that's a good question, and I'd like the applicant to respond. Are you available?
I'm going to have Dana answer that question.
Thank you.
There it is. I think this is the only concern I had was the 70 degree cutoff, just with tracking the ball flight. So what we had looked at was if you go to the lighting plan, it shows the lighting on the ground, the spillover. It's not, it's zeros all around the range itself. The 70 degree, it may be fine. I'm just not sure how the technology works from Top Golf. I thought
Dana,
it was important.
Dana, my concern wasn't the 70 degree because you guys already have given us the numbers saying it's zero spillover. I don't want to get you into a jam where it says you can't have a light over 20 feet high. And then down the road, you build this thing and you've got lights that are out of compliance.
Yeah, no, I think we're fine with the 20 feet. As far as I can tell from the architectural plans, it's 13 feet is where that light will be mounted. I'm just not 100% sure of the angle itself.
That I'm comfortable with the angle. My concern was I didn't want you to get in a jam with the height.
Okay, no, I think we're good unless I misunderstood something from Jim Wilson. He might confirm that, but as far as I know, the 13 feet is where they want to mount that.
Okay.
So we also could have that indicated on the plans when they go to the building commissioner for their building permit.
Sure. I'm sorry. Can I still ask one question, or?
Go ahead.
If we find that the lighting is at a different angle, something that exceeds 70, is that something we'd come back to the board and
yes,
request a minor modification?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you might need more than a minor modification if it's a standard, so.
Yeah. So as time goes on, you'll see where you stand and come in and see Andrew or come in and see Nancy and then come in front of us again if there's any modification to your plans or your information you presented to us.
Yeah.
That's all I had. I'm ready to vote.
Okay. I just need to make sure I get this right.
So if it's easier, then we could have the language that Bob incorporated go into the decision.
Just a second. For the decision, what was the amount of fill? Does anybody have that?
Dana?
Can I speak on this, or?
Go ahead, Dana.
Is that a number?
Yes, it was a net fill of, it was about 2,000 cubic yards.
Thank you.
Sure.
It's here in some note, but okay. All right, before granting an application for a special permit under 305-10.10, the board, with due regard to the nature and conditions of all adjacent structures and uses in the district within which the same is located, shall find all of the following general conditions to be fulfilled. I'm going to just read it down quickly, and if the board wants to further delve into each of these items, please identify yourself, and we'll stop and we'll make sure that we're all on the same page. Number one, the use request is listed in the table of use, which it is. I confirmed that today. The requested use is essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. The requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal system to such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or in any other area of the town will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, and general welfare. Any special regulations for the use set forth in Article 11 are fulfilled. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining zones, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, and welfare. So we have conditions identified as Or do we not have conditions identified?
I wrote down some if you want me to tell you what
Yeah,
I wrote
could you, I've got 5 pages of notes here. And I'm all over the
I'll
place.
try to make it simple.
Yeah, Bob, thank you. The conditions for both the special permit and site plan?
Yeah, and the filling issue, I guess, as well.
Yep.
So the conditions that I would recommend are all exterior lighting as per bylaw unless otherwise approved by the board. If the plan changes as a result of approvals granted by Conservation Commission, Mass DOT requirements, or other local, state, or federal boards or commissions, the plans will be resubmitted to the zoning board for approval. On the filling issue, net fill limited to 3,000 cubic yards of clean fill, with the applicant providing testing data for the clean fill and keeping accurate records of the amount of fill brought into the property and submitting them to the board or to the building commissioner. And then,
or
well, it should go to the building commissioner with a copy to the board. And then, you know, what we've typically done with filling is indicate that, you know, the trucks won't be able to engage in filling activities before a certain time and after a certain time in the day. And it would be the same thing that we use for earth removal conditions. We don't want trucks on the roads before 7 o'clock in the morning and, you know, probably after 5 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday, and then nothing after noontime on Saturdays and no Sundays. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's not going to take too long with 3,000 cubic yards. And then in terms of hours of operation, you know, what I would recommend that you do is the hours of operation of the driving range would probably be equivalent to the hours of operation that the selectmen determined for the liquor license.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does a liquor license allow serving at 6 a.m.? I think I saw they wanted to open at 6 a.m. for the driving range.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can open earlier for the driving range without the service of alcohol. I mean, I assume that the driving range will be open 7 days a week seasonally. Maybe it's not going to be, I don't know whether it's going to be open in the wintertime. A lot of driving ranges now are equipped with the capacity to be open. But I mean, I would think, you know, summertime hours could be a little different from the wintertime hours, but it's going to be a 7 day a week thing. And the driving range will, I think you just have to establish a closing time for the driving range, and it probably has to be, you know, not later than 11 o'clock. Okay.
But the point I make, it wouldn't be in hand with the liquor license because they're opening at 6.
I think that's a great point, Larry. I think you're right. I do think that the end, I mean, it's in the middle of, it's not in the middle of a residential area, it's in the middle of a golf course. So I think the golf course the driving range probably should close at a time that might even be earlier than what the liquor license allows. But, you know, I don't know if you even have hours of operation for the golf course, because the golf course was there before they probably even had a requirement for site plan approval. So, but I do think that the driving range facility could be open 7 days a week. Maybe, and, you know, it does have to close at a certain time at night though. And, I don't know.
Yeah, ask the applicant that question also, with their hours off.
At 11 o'clock.
It's at 11 on that,
6 to 11, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
6 a.m.
7 days a week?
Yep.
All right. Well, 6 a.m. in the wintertime is dark out in the morning, so.
Right.
Yeah, but they would have the ability, they'd be governing themselves, but that would be their window of opportunity, so to speak. And they would adjust it accordingly, seasonally.
So it'd be 6 to 11.
So that was condition number 6. 7 days a week, 6 to 11.
That's driving range only.
Yeah.
It's pretty broad, so.
Yep. So the safety plan.
Oh, I think you incorporate all the rest of their plans in plans from Mr. Altabello in there.
By reference.
Correct.
Nancy, I hope you got some of this because my shorthand is not. So the board, I just identified 7 conditions, plus the local, state and federal regulations.
We'll work to get them all together.
Yeah, and then yeah, okay. So it applies, these conditions apply to both the site plan and the special permit, with 1103 as well. Okay. All right. So we went over the special permit, went over site plan. No, so I finished so that was a special permit that we just went through. And then you're required for the site plan review to make sure that we have items 1 through 10 for site plan approval. Andrew, can you put that up on the board so I don't have to read this out?
Yep, 1 second here.
Thank you. For this accessory structure. It starts with protection of adjoining. Yep, there you go. Convenience of vehicle, free adequate disposal and drainage system. Compliance with 807, 808 of the bylaw. Space of off-street unloading of vehicles, goods, products, materials. I know they talked about in one of those emails about the loading and unloading, and there is a dumpster on the property building site. Shall minimize sleep wetlands. Where proposals within the jurisdiction. It's not in the WRPD. Compliance 303. Conformance with all. So Bob was one of your conditions to include the Board of Health, Bob?
Yeah, well, we say any other local, state, and
Okay.
federal boards.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have site plan approval. Board members are just that. Check. So then we have the special permit under 305-1103 for the filling of the property. Limited to the 3,000 cubic yards, clean fill with testing data, amounts of fill. The board, the building commissioner will receive that information and a copy to the board. Must be a submission of a location plan at a scale. We've got that site plan drawn to a minimum scale. Okay. Proposed filling in relation to the premises said plan to be prepared by a registered site plan. I walked that. It's coming off the backside and around the corner. There must be provisions for temporary and permanent drainage. Yes. There's a limitation of fill to terrace fills, which are not to exceed 10 feet at any one time, nor be within 10 feet of an adjacent lot line or any cut. So That's fine. There must be a regrading of all parts of the slopes resulting from such fill. They're professionals with grass, so I know
think you
this
can
is
keep
gonna
it
look
simple
great.
by just saying they're gonna comply with the requirements of this section.
Yep. Printing. Yep. Okay. Any further comments from the board before I go to a vote? Nope. All right, I'd like to make a motion to grant the site plan approval in accordance with 305-12.02. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brian Murphy. All those in favor? Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy.
Aye.
Mark Stiles.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Chris Blazos.
Aye.
I'm going to take Larry Keane as the vote on this.
I was just gonna ask that.
Yep. Okay, site plan. So the site plan is a vote of 5-0. All in favor. Same conditions apply. I'd like to make a motion to grant the special permit under chapter 305-10.10. And I'll combine it with 305-1103. So we're talking about two special permits here, folks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded both for these special permits by Brian Murphy. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy.
Aye.
Mark Stiles. Sorry. Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Take Chris's vote, Lynn.
Chris Blazos, yeah, your votes. Thank you, Chris.
Aye.
Thanks.
Oh, that's everything, Lynn?
Yes, thank you, Frank. So you'll be in touch with Nancy and our decisions will be available to you when we get them out.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
So Nancy, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so 21-10, which is 2000 Ocean Street. Let's continue that.
To April 13th.
Yeah, let's do it to April 13th.
Yeah, I sent him the text at like 8:16 and he hasn't responded.
Yeah, okay.
And I identified who I was too.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to continue case 21-10 for 2000 Ocean Street to April 13th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
Chris Blazos.
Aye.
So that one's moving to
Nancy, let me know if you can't get a hold of them. I can help out and get in touch with Steve.
Yeah, like I said, he called me Friday. We talked about it. He wanted to make sure I got the plans. And I'll give him a try again tomorrow.
So we have DJ Sullivan, and that's been requested to continue until the planning board process. I don't know where they stand, but it's been a long night, so I'm going to just
There's a letter in their file.
You what?
There's a letter in their file. I believe they're going to planning May. Well, according to Greg, they're going to planning May 10th.
Oh, okay.
Which is why they're continuing to May 11th.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just make a motion to continue till May 11th. Does that work for you, Nancy?
Sure does.
All right. I'd like to make a motion move DJ Sullivan 19-81 to May 11th at 6:30. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brian Murphy, second. All those in favor, Lynn Fiddler, aye. Brian Murphy,
Aye.
Mark Stiles,
Aye.
Steve Feeney,
Aye.
Larry Keane,
Aye.
and Chris Blazos.
Aye.
Okay. So I'd like to thank everybody. It's a long night. I'm exhausted. I'm sure you are as well. I think we're going to be at this for a while with this zoning board and the Zoom, but hopefully we'll just really work through it and get through this. It's been a trying year for everybody. So I thank everybody, and we'll be back at it on the 13th. I may not be available on the 13th, but I'll let everybody know. So we'll figure it out. But everybody, I'd like to make a roll call to adjourn. Lynn Fiddler to adjourn. Aye. Brian Murphy.
Aye.
Mark Stiles.
Aye.
Steve Feeney.
Aye.
Larry Keane.
Aye.
Chris Blazos.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you, Lynn.
All right. Bye-bye.